All right. Time for the show. I'm gonna turn the music down so it's kind of in the background, but I can't actually listen to it and do all the things. Hello, everybody. Nope, no foot finder yet. Still just the OnlyFans. All right, and I realized that my mic got knocked down, so hopefully I don't sound atrocious today. We'll see. I just did recording yesterday and I don't love the way the audio turned out for like my last two videos. So I'm hoping that didn't really screw something up. Sound loud and clear. Okay, well, perfect then. I also have been fussing with my camera and I still can't seem to ever actually put it where everything is in frame. Crazy. Okay, cool. Hello, everybody. How are we all doing today? Yes, it is now Pride Month. Yay! And I started it off A by forgetting on YouTube that it was Pride Month, and I looked at my list of of videos to make, and there was legit like one LGBTQIA plus style game in it. Yeah. So I decided to redo that. So Echoes of the Plum Grove might be a little late coming out with its stuff if I decide to put those out. I'm trying to put out some more Yags content. I put out Missed Messages this last week, which is so interesting because that's more of like a mental health, like watch yourself and look out for your loved ones game, which of course always gets tied into LGBT because, you know, our our population has a disproportionate amount of people that need that need reminders on that stuff. Um, but yeah, so I'm glad that I was already for stream playing an LGBT like game. So yeah, uh, so I've been trying to record Yag stuff, and then today, uh, to do, yeah, today I got home from work, was exhausted, which is weird because I feel like I actually did less at work today than I normally do. But I think just because it's the end of my work week, I was just very done, and I don't know, had interesting conversations and stuff at work. Um, but yeah, so I came home, was exhausted, accidentally passed out, and then I woke up and was like, "Oh, it's time to take the man who is he? He's out there still. I'm sure he'll probably want to come in at some point." Um, but yeah, brain. What was I saying? There he is. Hi, man. Yeah, so I needed to take him for like his long WALK. Uh, and while we were walking, we hadn't even left the complex yet, and my headphones were like going in and out for some weird reason. So I stopped and I was trying to like fuss with them, and then Merlin starts just like going nuts. And so I turn around and there's this guy like standing behind me and his much larger dog. And I'm just like, oh. And so I try and like round up Merlin just to make sure they don't like not have an altercation because Merlin loves big dogs, but I don't know the other person's dog. But I recognize the dog. I've seen him around. But yeah, so I try and like wrangle Merlin, and then the dude looks at me, and he kind of looks down, and he's like, "I like your shirt." And I was still like coming out of nap mode, and so I'm pretty sure I gave him like mean eyes or something. I was just like, "Thank you." Yeah, was the I like it registered after that happened. I was like, "Oh, he probably meant that sincerely, and I am cranky." That's not a good look on you, Patrick. And so then we like Merlin and I started continuing our walk. Can't do anything about your face. I can't do anything about my face. Ugh. Um But yeah, so then we started walking, and it was the same direction that this guy and his dog were going. And I'm like, oh, let's stop right here. Let's see if we can cross right here, because we have to cross the street to go to his favorite place. Um, so yeah, I'm awkwardly trying to pick terrible spots to cross the street. I'm like, I really hope he's not taking his dog to the park. He wasn't. I think he was going around like our block loop. But so we went to, I just said it and he didn't respond. So yeah. Whoa, wow, wee, ah, wah. Wow, 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 wee, wah. Hello, Mello. How are you doing today? Um, but yeah, so I take him on his normal roundabout, and then we get back, run across the street. Um, wow, wow, wee, wah. Wow, wow, wee, wah. Wow, wow, wee, wah. What's wow, wow, wee, wah? I feel like that like registers something in my brain that I am not fully remembering. Um, yeah, so we run across the street, get back here. I'm walking, and then I'm like, I don't know, I just like catch a vibe, and I look behind me, and the dude and his dog are like rounding the corner back into our complex. And I felt like in my brain, I was like, if I see him again, I'm gonna go up and like apologize for having like a cranky face. And then I just felt awkward and like sped into our apartment. Uh, for you to be the elusive Mad, you're not very elusive. Nope, Mad's pretty easy to spot. Mad's actually coming on stream, I think. Mad, did I just see you? Did I see you outside, or did I imagine that? I think Mad's coming on stream in a bit, unless she's still gone. Oh, you're here? Okay, cool. Yeah, because we have presents. So, which actually we can do right now if you're not busy. Because that was pretty much going to be my story, and then I was going to just hop right into the game because I don't have Bob here to inhibit stream for half an hour. But yeah, no, we got a. Speaking of Bob, we got a package that I had to alter to not dox. Me busy? Nope. I mean, well, I don't know. Oh no, I don't know what you did. I saw you leave, and I was like, oh okay, I guess we'll do this. Oh wait, do you not want to? Do you not want to do this right now? Because we can do it next week too. I can put it away for a week. Never mind. um, yes, Bob C Games, the creator of this, sent us another like goodie bag of things. Um, and his only request was that Matt and I open it together on stream. You want to wait for Bob? If we wait for Bob, we will be waiting a full ass month. He will not be back for a while. Yeah, he's not going to be in today. I asked him if he wanted us to wait until he was back in town. Yeah, he's like on like hardcore vacation with his fam. I asked him if he wanted us to wait, and he said nope, just do it on stream. So he apparently watches these VODs, partially because he links them like on his YouTube channel. So he has like a playlist of all of our stuff that we've done. But yeah, so I assume he's just going to watch our reaction to it whenever he watches this VOD back. So yeah. But I know that Matt had a had a had a thing happen. Had a thing happen that she's waiting to get corrected. So if you would rather wait until next week, or if I end up playing this again later this week, we can do that too. Yeah, pretty sure Bob would understand. Oh, yeah. Just let me know. I'm also so curious what's going on with the Pokemon community game. Because nope, I'm good and not embarrassed. Okay. If you say so. Well, then whenever you're ready, feel free, come on in. Um, yeah, I see the Pokemon community game is like doing some big event. And I keep seeing their notifications are like different. Hello. You sure?
I'm probably be streaming like this anyway, so it's fine.
Okay, well then. Hi.
Like we're the...
This way. Actually, we can go ahead and adjust the entire camera. This is the amazingness of the 21st century.
We kind of...
We're not the same right now. We're very much not the same right now.
We are like twins.
Okay. I actually see it pretty correctly, I think. No, I don't think so. I'm like, this part looks very blonde to me.
This is like the darker part.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the top is like the blonde.
Nope, I still, like in this, it kind of looks white-ish, but then I'm also seeing like green streaks. So, for anyone that doesn't know, I am colorblind. So, or more like color diluted sensitive. Anyway. In my eyes, yes, her hair is green.
Doing a wall sit. So
you can go get a chair if you want. No?
No.
Whoa, blonde! Hi, Flag.
I thought that picture was there.
Yeah, Matt had a horrible, hideous hair mishap.
Okay, so like I was getting it done.
Go ahead.
And then my friend, after bleaching my hair, abandoned me because her friend.
This was not me, by the way. She looked at me and said, "My friend abandoned me," like I did something wrong.
Oh, but would that be hard to believe?
No, but it wasn't me. No.
Yeah. So my friend had to leave because her other friend went into labor. So.
I just think she saw this and thought that it'd be funny. That's my personal thing.
I'll make a joke of it. I don't care.
Whatever. I'm trying to open this, and it is literally the hardest packaging.
The hard package. Thanks, Bob.
No shock there. I got it open!
There you go.
All right. What's inside? What's inside?
What shenanigans did we get? I think your name's on the package.
I'm very confused.
Very confused.
All right. First of all, this I'm not totally. That I actually kind of enjoy.
Okay.
This one, not so much. That's the name of the company, and this company
nice.
is apparently not nice. Yeah. So
we don't support.
We don't support, but that is very funny.
Advertising for them.
More advertising for them. The actual. Oh my god! Oh my. But it's horribly inaccurate now. Oh god. Okay. That's great.
I like that they're in the shape of hearts.
I like that they're in the shape of. Oh, that's what they are? Oh, I saw something else. All right.
Upside down, yeah.
This is what it is. I knew it would have something to do with salt.
Well, I also were thinking it was just a bunch of Nate photos.
I was thinking it'd be a bunch of.
Coaster?
Why? It's a mule coaster. This is advertising for the company, by the way, which I'm not even going to bother showing because they apparently... This is hearsay. This comes from, like, 2 layers deep, but they support political beliefs that don't align with, like, this month. So, yeah. Apparently, we got these. Like, these there's so many of them.
What are we going to put them on?
We got that... A water bottle? We could put it on signs. I don't know.
I mean, they don't have any advertising for us. They just we're against salt.
Now we're doing salt.
I'm a chef. I love salt. It's so important.
That's so great.
That's.
Oh my god. How do you make a blonde drink too much water? How? Also, congrats, Plague, on getting first. I'm nervous. Do I not have a cooldown on my hydrate?
I'm not chugging. It's your turn.
You're on stream right now, so anything that happens here, you gotta do.
Right now.
Yeah.
Where's your drink? I'll get some food.
So I actually have coffee right now. I don't have a real drink. So, but I was thinking about having a real drink. Tell them that there's a scratch and sniff at the bottom of.
Hello, that's attempted murder.
It's not attempted if it happens. What are you talking about? That's just poor.
One sticker, please. Put it. This false propaganda.
Here, you take about half of them. So what I thought it was hang on, I'm gonna find what I thought it was.
Yeah.
No, not that. I thought it was gonna be like I thought it was gonna be the Nate thing, but I thought it was gonna be something else too. And by the way, oh my god, if you go aggressive in this game, it is a terrible mistake.
Is it? You're the one that said going aggressive was the way.
It is not the way. It is not the way.
It feels like it has to be though.
It's not. There it is. All right. So how do I enlarge this again? Yeah, definitely.
Pop it out.
Mad. We're on stream.
Didn't say whip it out. I said pop it out. Different.
Is it? There we go.
That works out.
Okay, so this is more what I thought it was gonna be. Yeah. I thought it was gonna be this sign back here. Say no to drugs, say yes to pizza. I moved my camera.
That so bad.
I thought it would be that, and then like a ton of Nate stickers, and we can't stand Nate.
Hate him. Love to hate him, actually.
Yeah, he's a nightmare. He's a terrible person.
Thank you, Bob, for a wonderful flying stickers.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. I'm gonna treasure this always.
Always and forever.
Always.
And we're in the shape of a heart. Great.
Which is so ironic with like the fact that it's anti-propaganda for things.
I think it's just cool.
We just have oddly shaped heads.
I'll leave you. But...
All right. Well, that was something. Oh, and now my coloring is gonna be like messed up until it's already starting to fade back. Well, that was something. Wow. Yeah, that was nothing like what I thought it was gonna be. All right. Well, without further ado then, let's go ahead and actually get into the game. That's going in my drawer. Enjoy your lurk plague. All right. We are going into Because of You, which I think is a rather sizable chapter, but I was told not to end on this one. Yeah, it's 4,500 words. Yeah. They're great. It's funny, when I was like texting him about it, I was like, I have ideas for what it is that you sent. And he was like, assume nothing. And I kind of thought that he just was upset that I might have guessed it. And no, he legit sent me something I would not have guessed in a million years. I did assume it might be something to do with salts if it wasn't all game related. But anyway. All right, yeah, so 4,500 words, we can probably knock that out. I still am starting about half an hour in. Indirectly because of Bob. Crazy. This man can still troll me even when he's nowhere near me. I'm also going to change some of the audio things just right quick. That way we don't have weird stuff going on. Always makes you late. I don't know how he does it, even when he's not here. Anyway, okay, 4,500 words, can probably knock that out in about 2 hours. And then we can't end on this chapter, so we need to get through at least another one in honor of Bob. I put in a new redeem, by the way, for Bob and Sil specifically. Okay. So this will come off at 10 after. Cool. All right, because of you, Carlos's mom calls. Carlos freaks out. I'm going to assume that this is not real. I don't have Bob here to tell me whether it is or not, but I think he put this on almost all the chapters and didn't realize it. Because of you. Point of view, Carlos. Carlos's mom called. Carlos freaks out. Nope, instantly starts with that. Got it. Okay. I was very mistaken. The last thing Carlos expected while he and Nick are engaging in marital activities is a phone call. But nevertheless, he finds himself the recipient of one such call one day. Carlos shakes his head, trying to focus as Nick breaks their kiss, a smirk on his face that seems entirely inappropriate for the current situation. Gonna answer that? You want me to answer the phone right now? I mean, it's so funny that Bob didn't know me when he was writing Nick's character. I almost wouldn't believe it. Carlos feels more than a little incredulous at that, even as his mind can't focus on anything in his current blissed out state. Nick just chuckles and Carlos reaches out, fumbling on the nightstand for his phone and bringing it up to where he can see it. He frowns at the number on the screen, trying to remember through the pleasant fog why the country code looks familiar. He thumbs the accept button and brings it up to his ear. Hello? Carlos? He can feel his heart drop and blood freeze at the voice on the other end. Carlito, mijo. He pulls the phone away from his ear, hitting the button to hang up as quickly as he can before he lets the phone fall somewhere next to him. He's shaking now, uncontrollably, and he's only vaguely aware of Nick beside him, who's saying his name with worry in his voice. Babe, what's wrong? Carlos? Carlos squeezes his eyes shut, feeling like he's suffocating, and the room is freezing despite his husband's warmth next to him. He can't even say it. Shh, it's okay. It's my mom. Friday, January 7th. Yeah. I'm glad Drag Race is finally back on. It's been too long. Nick chuckles as he positions himself against Carlos's chest, and Carlos wraps his arm around him. It has. I can't wait to see if we root for different girls this year. So I have never watched Drag Race, so I'm going to butcher any names or references that are made. I'm sorry, but Denali was robbed and you know it. Nick kisses him before turning around to face the TV, and Carlos takes a bite of his candy bar as he waits for the show to start. Babe? Nick's voice is quieter than usual. Cautious. Carlos doesn't like it. I think we need to talk about this. About what? Nick seems to hesitate, trying to decide if he should say the words. Your mom. I don't know if I agree. I feel like you guys have not talked about this for so long. You're definitely entitled to ask about it. But, okay. I don't know how to feel about this. Obviously, from a storytelling standpoint, they have to do this, but... Carlos can feel his blood freeze again, and he remembers back to a few days ago. She had called again, of course, and he picked up his phone and tried to throw it at the wall, and probably would have if Nick hadn't caught his hand, grabbing the phone out of it and turning it off. Nick had wanted to talk about it then, too, after Carlos had calmed down a bit, but Carlos hadn't been willing. He should have known Nick wouldn't just let it drop. Well, I don't. Carlos hopes that comes across as reasonably final. And that's fine. And that's fine. She had left a voicemail that he deleted without listening to it. That's also fine. And then blocked her number. That had felt final enough for him. Yep. Babe, Nick starts, and Carlos doesn't like the sound of that. She's reaching out again. It's a good thing, right? No, it doesn't. No, nope, nope. If you fuck up and people don't want you in their life, then you don't get to dictate the terms of ingratiating yourself back into their life. I said I don't want to talk about it. Carlos is trying not to get angry because the two of them have actually never done this before. But he still feels more than a slight annoyance that his husband is refusing to leave the situation alone. Fine, Nick says, his shoulders slumping, but it's so tinged with disappointment that it just makes things worse. Why is it so important to you anyway? She hasn't talked to me in 12 years? What makes you think that? Carlos stops. Realization dawns on him, thinking that his excellent memory might be a curse this time. Hmm? You never let it go, did you? What? Nick says, and Carlos really wishes he could see his face at the moment. The conversation we had 12 years ago about my parents and how upset you were that you'd never get to meet them, you never let it go. Babe, Nick's voice is apologetic, but the fact that he's not denying it is enough to set Carlos off. He pushes Nick away, standing up, his head swimming. What the fuck, Nick? Why would you? I'm sorry. Nick is looking desperate now, and Carlos tears his gaze away. I didn't mean to upset you. I just thought that maybe if she. Shut up. It should feel significant and painful, somehow, that this is the first time he'd said that to Nick. Meant it. But all he could feel at the moment is rage and desire to lash out. What the fuck, Nicholas? You know what they did to me. Babe, please. Nick stands. Ooh. Say what you want about woo-woo stuff, but like all of the stones that are in my desk just like flew out underneath me. Okay. Anyway. Babe, please. Nick stands reaching out for him, but Carlos shakes his head. He needs to not be here right now. He heads for the door, jerking it open and slamming it behind him without another word. Later. That was stupid, Carlos thinks as he walks down the street, having calmed down a bit and not really sure where he is after having walked in his blind rage down streets and across intersections against the light, in front of cars that screeched to a stop and laid on their horns in a way that should have worried him, but that only made him angrier. He looks around, wondering why the neighborhood looked familiar, as he tries to think of what he'd do without his phone, his wallet, his keys, and shivers from his lack of a coat. I mean, your body probably took over and you walked somewhere that you're familiar with. You probably walked to Adam's place. Adam's at work, but I can't exactly go in and ask for him. Oh, or to Adam's work. He turns a corner and realizes suddenly that things seem familiar when he finds himself staring at Kat's and Emma's apartment building. There we go. He'd never been inside, but he and Adam and Nick had walked them home once after a group outing to the park. He hesitates, wondering if he really could bother them, but deciding he didn't really have another option. He wasn't about to head home yet, his anger at Nick still fresh in his mind. Hard. He heads up to the front door, hoping that there's some sort of call box. He's in luck, and he thumbs through the list of names until he comes across a Davis CA and presses the call button. The box buzzes to life and rings, and after a few moments, Cass's voice comes through the box. Hello? Hey, sorry, it's Carlos. Carlos! She sounds surprised to see him, and he isn't sure why her surprise would surprise him, given both the unexpected visit and the time. Oh, hi! Sorry, it's late, but I don't know what to do, and thought that... Are you okay? What's wrong? Let him in? Let him in? That's a smart idea. Her voice is full of concern now. I'm fine. Well, I'm not fine, but Stay there, I'm coming right down. The call ends, and he stares at the box until he can hear the first of the two sets of doors open next to him. Carlos! Cass pushes the second door open and stands in front of him. He must look as much a mess as he feels, at the moment, because she immediately looks worried about him. Oh my god, what happened? Carlos shakes his head. It's a long story, but I locked myself out and don't have my wallet or my phone, and I found myself here. Could you maybe call Adam for me? I can call Nick, she says, pulling out her phone. No. Volume is the volume of his voice startles both of them, and she just stares at him. Or I can call Adam, but he's at work right now, so he's not going to get it until he finishes. Carlos nods, trying to get his breath under control again after his outburst. That's fine. I can go find a park to sit in or something. At least the weather's nice. You can come up, Cass says instead, if you want to. You're not wearing a coat and it's not exactly warm out, so you shouldn't sit in a park. I don't have a mask. It's an automatic response still. Cass just smiles at him. Since when have we needed masks around each other? But Omicron is a lot more contagious, and I haven't been in your place yet. And he starts to protest, but Cass shakes her head. Carlos, we were in your apartment earlier this week. We're in the same bubble. It's fine. Right, he sighs. Sorry, just old habits die hard or something. She smiles at him and pats his arm, and he follows her into the building and up the elevator into an apartment that smells pleasantly like fresh brewed coffee. The smell is soothing, even if he'd never really liked actually drinking the stuff. Eddie! Emma's sitting at a desk in front of a laptop, holding a cup of coffee and holding out her fist toward him as he walks through the door. He's not really in the mood for the Eddie at the moment, but he reminds himself that she means well, and he half-heartedly returns the fist bump. What a surprise! Carlos locked himself out, Cass says, leading Carlos toward the couch, where he gratefully sits, and he appreciates that Cass shut down the Eddie thing. That is a gorgeous apartment, my god. Oh, I assume you called Nick for him already. Cass looks at him and he sighs. We had a fight, and I kind of stormed out. It hits him now that this is the first time they've really fought. Their past disagreements being over little things that they always talked through and resolved, and that only made them stronger afterwards. The first time one of them had left. This is the first time one of them had left. The first time he thinks he'd felt truly angry at Nick. That's fair. I feel like in Dorian and I's relationship, this is about where we're still at. We've never really had a fight. We like bicker every now and again, but we don't like fight. He hates that those people are doing this to him again. And he thinks he hates them even more than he thought he did before. Yep. Don't. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about like in situations where like families kind of break up, who it's on to like repair things, quote unquote. And don't let people come to you. If you like make your peace known in whatever way, then let someone else come to you and let that be that. And don't like surprise them with it. I'm sorry, Cass says, sitting next to him and looking upset. Ooh. Calm down. Hat off. Oh. All right. I'm sorry, Cass says, sitting next to him and looking upset on his behalf. Can we do anything? We've never fought before. He's crying now, the anger having given way to regret. He thinks Nick truly had meant well. It was stupid. Cass's hand finds his back and rubs it reassuringly. Hey, it wasn't stupid. I'm sure whatever happened, you had every right to be upset. Carlos shakes his head. Emma holds out a box of tissues, and he gratefully takes one, dabbing at his eyes. I don't need to bore you with it, he says. Actually, this might be the perfect people for you to, like, just process thoughts with, at least around, like, the concept of not wanting to talk about it, You don't have to tell them anything about your parents. You can talk about your feelings around talking about your parents. We're here to listen if you want to talk about it, Emma says, and Carlos nods beside him in agreement. And Cass nods beside him in agreement. My parents disowned me when I came out. It's as good a place to start as any, and it's easier to say parents than explaining the whole situation first. Oh, Carlos. Cass seems more upset on his behalf than he would have expected. I'm so sorry. It's okay, but, that was 12 years ago, and I hadn't spoken to them since. And then this week, my mom called. He squeezes his eyes shut, trying to focus on his breath and ignoring the way that her voice had made him feel. And I freaked out. I think that's entirely understandable. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You went through something extremely traumatic, and it probably brought those memories back. Cass thinks for a minute. Did Nick not understand? I don't think it's that he didn't understand. I think it's that he didn't understand that Carlos probably wants to process it differently and in a different way than Nick wants him to process it, which is difficult. Carlos inhales sharply, a laugh on his lips. No, he was so supportive, or I thought he was. I think you know how stubborn Nick is. Cass laughs, then looks guilty about laughing. We have that in common. Yes, I've noticed. Family's always been important to Nick, and I didn't really understand why until our wedding. But when we were there, surrounded by his family and with none of my biological relatives there, that hits something different. Okay. And I felt like I was letting him down somehow, but he told me he understood. Cass's phone buzzes and she pulls it out. Her smile turns to a frown, and Carlos figures it must be Nick. I would say it would be a smart idea, just for like putting people at ease, to answer the phone and just let him know Carlos is there, he's safe, and he will probably go home when Adam gets off. Probably. It's Nick, who says, confirming his thought. Should I answer it? It's so funny how in situations, this is like total side thought, but how in situations like this, there's like a weird beholdence that you have to whomever from like the disagreement you're with at the moment. Especially because like obviously they're all friends and they want to eventually like help their friends through this, but there is this thing where like, you know, you have like a certain loyalty that needs to be maintained with whoever you're with, I guess. He thinks for a second. You can let him know I'm here. I don't want him to worry. I just don't want to see him right now. See, that is fair, very mature. She nods, accepting the call. Hey, Nick. She listens for a bit, expression even. Yeah, I know. He's here, but he doesn't want to see you right now. Well, I don't know what he said, but I feel like that maybe was a little harsh. From the way Cass's lip twitches in a smile, Carlos knows that Nick is breathing a big sigh of relief, and despite everything, it makes him feel better. Fair. Even if, I don't know what he could do, but even if Dorian did something egregious, I wouldn't want him to, like, spend time worrying about my safety. I would want him to think about why he's wrong and why I'm right, but I wouldn't want him worrying about me. Cass listens for a bit longer before nodding and hanging. Thanks, Carlos says, and Cass just smiles at him softly. Of course, anytime, Carlos. She seems to think a bit before putting her arm around, and he leans against her. That also seems to help, and he can feel the hysteria he's feeling about the current conversational topic start to subside. You don't have to keep talking about this, of course, but please continue if you want to. Carlos nods. Yeah, he said he understood and didn't blame me because what could I have done? But then when she called, I think he saw it as an opportunity. Nope. That wasn't an opportunity. That was an imposition. That was someone imposing themselves on you and your life, who they made clear they didn't want a part in, and you have subsequently accepted. Just because they changed their mind does not mean that you have to change yours. That doesn't feel very fair to you, Emma says, and Cass shakes her head. It doesn't, but I think maybe he thought that it doesn't, but I think maybe he thought that you were wanting it too. Cass's words surprise him, and he stares at her, not understanding. Sorry, I just mean that you said you felt bad that you couldn't give him that kind of relationship with your parents. He probably still can't. In reality, even if his mother had called with the best of intentions of wanting to reconnect with her son, I don't really believe that she would call wanting to get to know him and his husband and what they've been doing with their life and what her son is doing in America and how he's getting along and wanting to see their wedding photos and blah, 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 blah. I imagine she, especially coming from the kind of community that they're in, wants to feel like she did something right by reconnecting with her son. And best case scenario, tolerating his lifestyle. Because that's, what a lot of our parents were taught, at least like millennials. That's what a lot of our parents were taught once they started realizing that more and more of their kids were like on the sexuality spectrum. They were taught to be tolerant of it, not accepting, tolerant. Maybe he interpreted that to mean that you wanted that too, and he thought this was a way to start down that road towards something you both wanted. That does make sense, but Carlos wants to be stubborn too, for the moment. Which is fine. If you want to just be in this like angry space, that's fine too. And if you want to recant everything you say, that's fine. Like, go through your emotions right now. You already stormed out. This is one of those situations where like you're already on stage, you're wearing the costume, you might as well do the dance too. Like, if you want to. But he knows how I feel about them. Why would he think I would ever want that? To forgive them? I don't know what it's like to come out or to be rejected like that, Carlos. Has his hand still on his back. But correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think Nick really knows either. From what you've told me and how casually he talks about his brother and parents and relatives, I think it never really occurred to him before you that it could ever have been a problem. Privilege. He thinks about that, realizing that that too makes sense. No, I think you're right. When I first told him, it was in the context of him thinking I hadn't come out. I don't think it crossed his mind that I could be out but still not have a relationship with them. Cass nods. So maybe he was thinking all of this time that you weren't avoiding them out of hurt or a desire to never talk to them again, but instead just couldn't find a way to start fixing it. I totally understand that Cass is like coming at this from a really good place, and she's trying to think about what Nick's feeling and how Nick could be interpreting all of these like feelings that Carlos could have been going through. But oh my god, so much of this is just... I understand it. If any of it were true though, I'm like it's all like much larger conversations. Especially like the fixing it. Like that always gets me with like when families break up, like, you have to fix it. Carlos shakes his head. How are you so perceptive? Emma laughs. There's a reason she's already been promoted twice and is up again this year. She's good, not just with code. Cass blushes. I'm not trying to justify anything he said or did, Carlos, but it's clear that he really hurt you. Because it's clear that he really hurt you. I just want to try and maybe think about why. Because I think I would have done the same under similar circumstances and with similar misunderstandings. That's okay, yeah. Always a good thing to do with your partner. Rarely ever is your partner trying to be like Mo when they do something. Carlos nods and they sit there quietly for coffee. Emma stands. We have cupcakes from a shop that might be up to your exacting standards. We can put on some Walker and watch the episodes with the strip teasing best friend. Carlos laughs, feeling himself relax, and Cass pats his back. If I wouldn't be pulling you away from something important. Oh, Carlos laughs. If I wouldn't be pulling you away from something important. You're important, Carlos, Cass says, and he feels warm at it. I've been meaning to watch that episode anyway. I know it's been a year, but Em keeps wanting to talk about the show with me, and I keep not having time to catch up. Okay, then thanks. He sits up and Emma fetches the cupcake that actually is really good, and the three of them watch an episode together. Afterward, he stretches and Emma grabs his plate. Another? Episode or cupcake? Yes. She smiles. Either, or both. He shakes his head, feeling a lot calmer now. Thanks, but I should head home. It's probably almost midnight by now, and I still need to get there. Only 11:30, Emma says, glancing at her laptop. Still, can you call Nick again? Let him know I'm leaving, since he'll need to let me into the building. Cass nods, patting his back again before dialing. Nick picks up almost immediately. Hey, he's leaving soon and doesn't have his keys, so he'll need you to let him in once he's home. She listens for a second, then looks over at Carlos, eyes twinkling. Carlos realizes something as she hangs up. He's here, isn't he? Cass smiles and nods. You two really are good for each other, you know that? But sometimes people do the wrong things for the right reasons, even to someone they know and care about more than anything else in the world. And I know he's killing himself right now for it. Don't be so harsh on him, okay? I know. He tries not to get teary again. Thank you for everything. What are friends for? Cass pulls him into a hug, and he holds her more tightly than he maybe should. Bye, Eddie, Emma says as he stands, and this time he grins. Bye, Emma. Emmeline? He says as he walks towards the door. He makes a face at that, and Cass laughs. He makes his way downstairs with trepidation, really not looking forward to the conversation he's sure will follow. Nick is standing outside, pacing, and his face seems to simultaneously lighten up and fall when he sees Carlos. So sorry, babe, he says when Carlos opens the door, voice shaking, and starting for him, but stopping and balling up his fists instead. I know. Carlos isn't sure he wants to touch him at the moment and stuffs his hands in his pocket. It's cold. Can we just... Nick holds out Carlos's coat, because of course he'd thought that too. And Carlos accepts it gratefully, letting their fingers brush as he does. That, at least, was something. They start walking in silence, and Nick seems to be intentionally differential to him in starting the conversation. He doesn't want to walk in silence, but he figures he needs to say something. You're right, he starts, and Nick looks up at him in surprise and starts to say something, but he shakes his head. No, just listen for a bit, okay? Okay, Nick says, and it should be frustrating, but instead it's just cute, and he thinks it means he's forgiving Nick already. Thank you. You're right that we need to talk about this, but it's because I need you to understand me, and I don't want to leave any room for misunderstanding this time. Good for you, Carlos. He watches as Nick nods in agreement, even though he thinks Nick would agree to anything at the moment. Still, he tells himself that Nick keeps his promises and always has, and that makes him feel better. My parents aren't my parents anymore. I've buried them hundreds of times, big and small, over the past decade. I haven't. Oh, hello. I haven't spoken Spanish since I told them. I changed my name. I blocked her number. I fell in love with you. That one somehow feels like the most important one. The love I once felt for them turned hatred and, until tonight, comfortable indifference. I need them to not have that emotional power over me again. And tonight they did. And that made all of it come tumbling back. He squeezes his eyes shut, even though he knows he shouldn't while they're walking. I saw that look in her eyes again, Nick, and it just about destroyed me. And look what it did to us. Babe, I didn't know. You should have, Carlos thinks, but gives him that anyway, opening his eyes and holding his hand out to his side. Nick gladly takes it, intertwining their fingers, and Carlos feels a bit of contentment. My parents are Adam's parents and your parents, and that's the only family I need, so I know this is important to you, Nick, and I know you want to get to know them. But that's something you can never have. And I really need you to understand that, or we can't. He trails off, not wanting to think about a world where he's separated from this man, hating those people all over again for it. Nick's hand squeezes, and that's reassuring. I crossed a line and I know I did. Sorry. So sorry, Carla. I know how you feel about them. I've seen that look in your eyes every time you talk about them. So I should have realized a long time ago and just been supportive. Instead, I did the opposite. Nick seems to think for a bit. I know this is no excuse, but I'm bad at letting go of things. Same, bro. I feel you. That one I'll give you. You are. Carlos doesn't mean it to be accusatory, but it's a little more bitter than he. Nick just nods. But, like it took the thought of losing my friendship with Wade for me to finally let him go. I think tonight I was afraid I'd lost you. I don't know how to express how broken I felt when you walked out the door. Babe, you're my life. You're everything to me. I would do anything to keep from losing you. Carlos is crying now despite himself, consciously choosing not to misinterpret Nick's words and take the underlying message instead. I know. Nick stops walking, looking at him, his other hand seemingly twitching with the need to comfort Carlos but not moving. So I promise that I've let it go. For good this time. I love you, and I don't know how I managed to let my stupid desires get in the way of that. Your desires aren't stupid, babe. Well, I would say in this specific instance, it wasn't practically thought through. Like, when there's like a mass exodus. Hey, Soka Bear. Yeah. When there's like a mass exodus from someone's life in that way, like Carlos is what? 34? I think. Yeah, 34. And he spent 12 years not talking to his parents. He has spent more than a third of his life outside the communication of his family. So I like I don't think that even if they somehow like reconciled, that's going to be a relationship that will ever be really good for Carlos or for you to be in, or it unrealistic. Completely unrealistic. Hi, baby. Oh. Hi. Oh, Soka is screaming her head off. She wants so much attention. Hi. Okay. Your desires aren't stupid, babe. Carlos doesn't mean to use the term, but he takes the fact that it slips out as a good sign. Nick's lips twitch upward. Ooh. In this case, they were. I love you. I love the relationship we have, and the relationship I have with Adam's parents, and the relationship you have with my family. And that's enough. That's more than enough. My life is so full of joy because of you. Hi. I should never need anything more. She is so full of fire right now. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and take this off, okay? That does it. And he grabs Nick, kissing him. Nick makes a surprise sound before melting into. I love you too, Carlos says when they break, and Nick's smile reaches his eyes this time. Later, my goodness, Ahsoka wants to he's gonna stay for a while. Right. Babe? Nick's voice is cautious again, and Carlos can feel the tightness in his chest growing again at it. What? Nick turns onto his side facing Carlos in bed, but Carlos doesn't dare look at him. I know we agreed to drop this, but I have to confess something before we do. I promise it's the last time I'll ever bring them up. Carlos nods reluctantly, appreciating that Nick isn't saying parents anymore. Fine. What? He sees Nick bite his lip, and he isn't sure he likes that. Nick? Before I give your phone back to you after she calls, I saw she'd left a message, and I know you'd probably just delete it, so I wanted to. You listen to it. It should upset him again and make him angry at the invasion of privacy, but somehow it just makes him happy that Nick knew him so well. And maybe I'd wanted to be ready to soften any blow that was coming for him. Hi, can you not get comfy? Hi. Oh, that's my mic. Yeah? You just want so much attention? Aww. I don't know what has gotten into her right now, but she just doesn't want to leave me alone. Hi. Oh, hi. Thank you. Thank you for the love. I know I shouldn't have. Nick sounds guilty and remorseful, but I just thought that maybe. What did she say? I will say I don't think that whatever it is going to be. I don't think it's going to be anything that you're thinking it is. I have experienced this, and I can say that I also instantly got rid of the correspondence that I was given, and then later found it somehow. And what I thought would be in it was not anything. And it made me feel worse that yeah, things that I thought would be important to say to me were not even. So I oh, all right, littlest miss. Can I continue? Can I continue? I think she's here because she's knows that she can sense that I'm upset. Carlos forces the question out before he can overthink it and regret it. Not sure if Nick would even be able to answer. He doesn't think Nick knew any Spanish, but he had never asked. All right. Oh, I'm actually gonna go ahead. Yeah. All right. That was a little complicated. All right. My Spanish is really not good, so I picked up a couple important words, and I didn't want to listen more than a couple times because it felt increasingly Stevie. But I think your dad died. I, oh, he stops for a moment, processing his feelings. Feels only indifference this time, and he takes that as a good sign. Okay, I have also experienced that. Not my father, but um, yeah. And there's like a weird. I imagine Carlos is gonna get this later, but yeah, this like indifferent feeling towards it later makes you feel bad, not because you actually feel bad about not having that person on this earth anymore, but because you feel like you should care more. But in reality, like these are strangers to him. Like they're not in his life, so it's kind of the same as being. Okay. Nick sounds surprised. Yes, okay, Nick. That's it. That's all that it requires. And he isn't sure why he'd be given everything that happened today. Carlos shakes his head, turning onto his side now to face him. I told you, I buried them a long time ago. Yep. When you like come to terms with things, especially stuff like this, like you have to close the book on it. You are not hoping for something later on down the road or whatever. And that's something I know, particularly just like with me and my family, to get like a little personal. Um, any time that like my family would bring up like my divergence with members of my family, um, they always talk about like one days and they talk about things in terms of like, oh, when you understand this or when you do this or how would you feel if XYZ happened? I'm like, I would feel indifferent and none of these hypotheticals are going to happen. Like I would not I don't talk to a good majority of my family. And if something like this occurred, I would feel indifferent to it. I have felt indifferent because they're not in my life. I've closed the book on that. So to me, who has moved on, and to Carlos, who has moved on, there is a feeling of indifference. It does not affect them. As opposed to like, you know, I I hate the way that like I'm gonna say this because I'm gonna say it wrong, but like how my family talks about like, oh well, one day or in this idea of like me reconciling with, my parents or whatever. Um, I have a feeling that if something happened to me, they would have a much more difficult time because they talk about the future and stuff, and about me like understanding and getting things one day and blah blah blah. Like, I feel like if any of these hypotheticals happen, you guys would be the one to suffer, not me. So, and that's sort of playing out here, where like Carlos is indifference because he put this behind him. He closed the book on it, and that's fine. Whereas Nick, like this affects Nick far more because he doesn't have that, and he has this idea of like wanting families to be together no matter what, and blah blah blah. Even though he said he's dropping it, that is still like his demeanor and something that he honestly probably will never understand. Which good for him. If you never have to understand that, then great. I'm so glad for you. But if you do understand it, like this will bring about other feelings for him, but is also totally good. It's such a good thing. It doesn't make any difference to me that now it's starting to be literal. So yeah, just hey. Nick nods, looking like he wants to say something else, but instead kissing Carlos gently. Sorry I invaded your privacy. Carlos lies back in bed and stares at the ceiling, reaching out for Nick's hand between them. He does the same. You did, but I think I understand why. So you're forgiven. Just let's never do this again. Any of it. Nick noticeably relaxes at that. Okay, that's. Thank you. And yeah. Carlos nods, thinking for a second. Make love to me? He turns to him again. I know it's like 1 in the morning, and you have a shift tomorrow, but I need to feel. Nick smiles, moving and gently cupping Carlos's cheek. Definitely. And as Nick pours his apologies and regrets through his kisses, touches, and thrusts, Carlos finally accepts that Nick really does understand that everything's going to be okay again. Because of you, Fix. Okay, I'm curious. Ooh, do I want that? Do I want that? Huh. Because of you, Mother's POV. So we're going to probably get to hear the message, and we will probably. I wish that either Bob or Dorian were here, because if there are parts in Spanish, I will not be able to decipher them. Oh my goodness, and I don't know, because they're like this could go a couple of different ways. Where like we are obviously going to be privy to ironic knowledge, which will either make us feel really good about Carlos's decision, or really bad about Carlos's decision, or indifferent, or whatnot. Sure, it's fine. Let's just schedule an extra therapy session. I can do that. Approximate word count 1,000. Carlos's mom's POV on the call to Carlos. After. Wednesday, January 19th. Luciana hangs up the phone, tears in her eyes. She shouldn't be surprised by the news. Her husband had barely been clinging to life when she stepped out for a much needed stop at home and a quick shower. That's always when it happens. For what this is like an interesting phenomena that happens. I think statistically, mostly with like members of the Hispanic community, is men in particular will wait until their family is not around to pass, like to move on. Um, yeah, and it's very heartbreaking, but I like there's so much about like the human psyche that we don't know in our like will to live that a lot of men will wait until they're alone to move on. Craziest thing. But she still wishes more than anything she could have been there. She hates herself for picking that time, that hour to leave his side. It could have been any time, any hour, any day. He would have waited till you were gone. The nurse had said it would be fine. She never should have trusted them. She needs to tell Antonio and Jorge, she thinks, trying to dry her eyes as she picks up the phone again, and her fingers hover over the numbers. She's suddenly hit with a thought, unbidden, of Carlos. And she isn't sure why she's suddenly sobbing at that. Because you're coming to the realization that you can make choices where people exit your life and then you can't do anything about it after they're gone. So you're probably feeling remorse for the fact that while you couldn't do anything about your husband passing away, you definitely could have done something different about your child having to leave your life because you told him to leave. Carlos had made his choices and she couldn't handle the thought of her oldest son burning in hell. That she had done something wrong, that she couldn't save him from. She still fumbles around the desk for the sheet of paper that she'd long since buried in the back of the drawers. She wasn't sure then why she hadn't immediately shredded it when she received it, but now she feels a sense of relief when she finds it. It's crumpled and smooths it out like it's the most precious thing in the world. In some ways, it was. It was the only lifeline she had to her son, sent by Adam's parents so many years ago, apologizing that she and Carlos's brothers hadn't been able to make it to graduation to see Adam and Carlos graduate, and including some pictures along with Adam and Carlos's phone numbers. She had read it and thrown out the pictures, stuffed the letter into the desk in memory of Carlos. The memory of Carlos as he told her. His eyes full of hope, still fresh in her mind. She remembers, too, how he had crumpled, destroyed, much like the paper she holds now, when she had turned around and never looked back. At the time, she thought it was only what he had deserved. He had turned his back on her first, but as she stares at the paper now and wishes she had kept the photos, a tear falls onto the page. She wonders if she should have reconsidered. Crazy how, when suddenly faced with actual death, the imaginary prospect of where you go afterwards doesn't really matter. She needs her oldest son, especially right now, especially when she had just lost the greatest love of her life and was hoping she hadn't lost him too. Really? Yep. What a dumb hoe. What a dumb hoe. Sorry for your loss. What a dumb hoe. Her hands shake as she dials, carefully, making sure not to screw up any of the digits. Not sure if it's even his number anymore. Then she holds the phone to her ear, not daring to breathe as it rings. She's about to give up hope when the call connects. Hello? She feels faint at the sound of his voice again after so many years. Sounds breathless, distracted, and hopes he's doing well. She shakes the... Oh, believe me, he's doing quite well right now, and you'd fucking faint if it was a video call. She shakes the tears away, telling herself to focus. They can catch up later. No, you can't. Don't tell yourself that. That's not... Nope, that is not for you to decide. Carlos? There's no response from the other. Palito, mija? She's desperate and her voice breaks, but then the line goes dead. She sits there for what feels like hours, staring off into space, her heart suddenly empty as she listens to the dial tone. Good. Good. Feel bad. Feel very bad. No, the call just disconnected, she tells herself. No, you know that he hung up on you because you don't deserve to be... You don't deserve to get the privilege of being in his life. She hangs up and tries again, dialing each digit with even more determination. She didn't care anymore about his sexuality or whatever sins he might have committed that she didn't know about. She just needed her son. Too damn bad. Your needs don't outweigh your sins. The phone rings and then it connects, and her heart leaps at it, and she hears his voice. Carlos, por favor, necesito. She starts before realizing it's his voicemail. That would have to be good enough for now. She hears the beep and swallows, determined to make things right as much as she can. She pours her heart out into the night, saying everything that a part of her had wanted to say ever since that day that she now regretted more than anything else in her life. She tells him she doesn't care and that she's proud that he's made it on his own for so long. She tells him that his father just died and that she needs him now. She begs him to come home. She tells him that she doesn't know how she's lived without him for the past 12 years. She talks until the message cuts off, having reached the limit for the recording. I wish I could say that it's interesting. I feel quite the extended vernacular. And I don't have the words for what this makes me. It's not positive. It's actually quite hateful. That's a good word. Hateful. Because it almost, like, I don't want to say I'm happy for the fact that this woman is suffering in this way. I'm happy that this is in a game. I'm happy that this is in a form that people can see it. But even just some of the wording around this, I'm just like, it's very real. it's very real in that it's also so contrite. Um, in its display of like how a parent would show their child affection and sort of act like everything's okay. And I obviously am coming at this with some of my own stuff, but just like the, oh, she's proud that he made it on his own for so long. Bitch, did you give him another? What did you? He was just gonna die without you? Was that your thought? Also, you know nothing about him. Like the fact that you know that he's doing well means that you at least knew him well enough that you knew that he would be fine without you. Um, but you don't like you didn't talk to him. You heard him say hello. You said his name twice and son. And that was the most that you got. Aside from that, I didn't see you go on Facebook and try and find him or whatever. You don't know what he's doing at work or that he's married or that, he's living in a really nice apartment with his husband and that he has a great circle of friends or whatever. Like, yeah, just the like I hate it. It's sort of like how like partners will like love bomb people when they do something wrong. This is what parents do. They shower you with like um adoration, but like nondescript adoration. Um saying that they don't care about the past. Like it's in the past. It's just blah 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 and they're so proud of you and whatever. And that they need you. They tell you their needs. Like ah so much ick seeps from this. Then she hangs up and waits. She waits for a call that never comes. And never will because you will never deserve it. Sunday, January 30th. The funeral is smaller, thanks to the pandemia. She cries as she says goodbye to her husband, reaching instinctively to her side for comfort. Antonio is there and he takes her hand, but even as he does, she can't help but think that it's not right. The four of them should be here together, paying their last respects to this man. Well, you kind of fucked yourself there, didn't you? Carla should be at her side, his hand in hers as they reassure each other, as she reassures him, because he had always been the emotional one, the one who needed her the most. Yep, doesn't that suck? Doesn't that just fucking suck for you? When you miss out on the opportunity to have a truly meaningful connecting parent moment with your child because you're fucking dumb. As she watches the casket being lowered into the ground, she can't help but check her phone. There's no callback and no message. And as she feels the last of her hope fading, it hits her that she's actually burying two people today. Good. That should have hit you when you walked away from your child. So she lets go of Carlos too. Her tears a flood now, full of regret for everything she'd lost, knowing that the fact that she couldn't say goodbye to his face here too was her fault. Yep. Not even her son's hand on her own can make things right, and she thinks that nothing in her life will ever feel right again. Good. Good. I can have empathy for people. I really can. Parents are one thing. Like for me personally, as soon as you're a parent, like you're still have your own life and are still a person, whatever. But your life is no longer fully about like you are dedicating yourself to making sure that another living being is set up well in this world and will always have a safe person to go to and a place where they can feel like they belong and creating whatever they need. And the fact that, especially with something as I don't want to say silly, I don't want to say trivial, but especially with something like who you love, like the fact that parents forget about that and they don't realize in the moment that they're like disowning their child, that they're going to miss out on things like that. Like, obviously, nobody wants to lose their partner, but that is a moment for parents and their kids. I have I have friends who have lost their spouse who have gotten the chance to connect differently with their child because of that. But even something that traumatic aside, there are so many things like a wedding. There's so many things that you don't think about the fact that you will miss out on um, because you're dumb, because you decide to not want your child in your life, or there are more important things than your child in your life. And it sucks that you realize that too late that you don't get those moments. And it really sucks too that like you rob those from your kids. Like Carlos unfortunately doesn't get the option of having his loving parents happily at his wedding, supporting him and his husband. Carlos's parents robbed him of that. Um, and I'm gonna stop right there because that's gonna hit way too seriously. Whew. All right, I was told that I can't end on that chapter because it is very bleak, and it was very bleak. So find a bit of. I'm going to assume the bit that I can't see over here is Zen. And I'm going to assume that because when I played Zags, that was part of the intro song. Let's find your bit of Zen. Um, I am, however, going to take just a minute to freshen up my coffee and get some water because it is blazing. So I'll be right back. Sorry that took an extra minute. Duran got home. I was gonna pop this in the microwave because the coffee went cold. Oh well. Anyways, find your bit of zen. I was right. Point of view, Carlos. Oh, it's only like 2,000 words. I imagine it might have a ficlet with it. Um, we might end after this chapter, getting 2.5 ish, maybe like 3 ish out of the way. Um, yeah, I think that'd be a good one, especially because this topic like gets me kind of heated, and I'm really glad that Dorian's home. Cass and Adam settle down together. Oh, and we're coming into this year. Find your bit of zen. Saturday, February 11th. Hey, dude, can I ask you something? Carlos turns towards Adam. Carlos turns toward Adam, still holding his controller, and Nick walks into the bathroom and shuts the door behind him. Yeah? Adam looks uncharacteristically nervous, and Carlos wonders what this could be about. I wanted to get your blessing. Chico, for what? Adam takes a deep breath. I think I'm gonna ask Cass to marry me. Cute! Carlos is sure the smile on his face can be seen from space now, and Adam visibly relaxes at it. Dude, congrats! Adam blushes. Yeah, well, she hasn't accepted yet, so don't be so quick to congratulate me. Then he stops, looking at Carlos carefully. This one I'd be a little bit more iffy about. I mean, typically you aren't at the point of proposing marriage, unless you know that they're going to say yes now. But still, like, they've only been dating for a couple of years. Which, granted, I know people get married far sooner than that and last forever. So, what do I know? But you're really okay with this, dude? Chico, why wouldn't I be okay with this? You two are like perfect for each other. Carlos stops and thinks. Well, not as perfect as me and Nick, but still perfect for each other. Adam laughs at that, throwing an arm over his shoulder. I'm glad. I know all of us really get along well, but I still wanted to make sure because even though you're still the most important person in my life, she's a very close second, and I never want you to feel out of place or uncomfortable. Carlos ruffles his hair and Adam bats his hand away. Dude, you two are great together, and she's a great friend. I'm happy for you. Glad. And now I get to rub it in your face that you met because of me. You can't rub Nick in my face anymore. What am I rubbing in your face, babe? Nick reappears, wiping his hands on his shirt. And Carlos remembers that he needs to go get the laundry from the dryer. Also, if Adam's joining in, we should probably let Cass know. Adam blushes at that and Carlos grins. Dude, Adam's gonna propose to Cass. Oh, congratulations! Nick sits back down next to Carlos and slaps a hand on Adam's shoulder. They owe me now. This cancels out the debt I owe Adam for introducing us. Carlos kisses Nick, relaxing as Nick's arm moves down his back and settles around his waist. Nick smirks at him. I don't know, I think Adam still owes me for all the pain and suffering he's inflicted on me over the years by introducing us. Okay, mister, you apparently want to sleep on the couch tonight. Fair enough. Nick grins and kisses him. If it means I don't have to deal with you all night, absolutely. Carlos shakes his head, half-heartedly pushing Nick away. I take it back. The couch is too good for you. I'll throw a pillow into the bathtub for you or something. Seriously, though, Adam, Nick says, grabbing Carlos and wrapping his arms around him. Congratulations. You two are great for each other. Adam blushes. Thanks, dude. Would you two be there at the proposal? This feels like you should be there. We wouldn't miss it for the world, Chico. Carlos says, breaking out of Nick's arms and pulling Adam into an embrace instead. And Nick nods in agreement next to him. Saturday, December 2nd. Oh my goodness. This is amazing. I love the purple. Looking good, Adam, Nick says as Carlos helps Adam into his suit jacket. Thanks, dude. Adam fiddles with the cuffs before buttoning up the front of the as the photographer snaps away. Your tie's crooked, baby, Carlos says, moving to Nick and adjusting his tie as Nick looks at him with utter affection. Okay, stop that. What's that look for? Oh. Just remembering how handsome you were when I married you. And you're even more handsome now. Carlos blushes as Nick kisses him gently. Well, I'm glad I married someone who's into daddies because I'm gonna have to shave my beard off because I'm gonna have to shave my beard off soon if this continues. You'll always be handsome to me. Sexy, distinguished, gray and all. Nick says, grinning as he turns from Carlos to Adam, who's staring off into space. Although today you might have some competition. Carlos smiles and brushes some lint off Adam's shoulder, and that seems to snap him back into the conversation, and he blushes. You know, normally I would object, but today you're right. Chico, you're glowing. Adam blushes harder. I'm just excited. Going to marry the love of your life? I'd be excited too. Carlos looks over at Nick. Well, I guess I already did, so I guess I should just say I know the feeling. Nick blushes and Adam nods, but he seems to be lost in thought. It's not just, he pauses. Actually, can you two keep a secret? She's pregnant! Of course, Chico, Carlos says as Nick nods and Adam looks around the room, seemingly making sure his dad and Cass's brother aren't within earshot before bending over and pulling Carlos and Nick closer to him. This is pregnant. Nick slaps his hand over Carlos's mouth, which he appreciates when it muffles his shout of surprise. Adam, congratulations! Nick's voice is quiet, but he seems overjoyed at the news. Carlos nods as Nick pulls his hand away. Chico, that's great! Adam seems relieved at having gotten it out. Thanks. We were gonna wait until after the wedding to announce it, and not just because she thought it was a little weird to break the news at a wedding, but we just found out for sure yesterday, which was really not great timing. So, Adam, Nick says suddenly and loudly, I can't believe you lost. I can't believe you lost a cufflink. Carlos is confused until Scott appears next to them and slaps a hand on Adam's back, and he's glad one of them had the sense to be aware of their surroundings. What's this? You lost a cufflink? Oh, Adam looks over at Nick with gratitude. I guess I did. Here it is. Nick bends over and mimes picking something up before handing it to Adam. Anyway, we should let you finish getting ready. Scott nods. I'm proud of you, son. Adam blushes again. I'm just marrying Cass, Dad. Still proud of you. Carlos pulls Nick to the other side of the room, letting Adam have some alone time with his father and feeling like he's going to explode with happiness. He's looking forward to picking out some baby shoes. Ah, cute. Hang on. Hey, wait a second! This is the future! Wait, January, February, March, April, May, June. We are in June. Pride Month. Okay, yes. This is in the future. Like 2 weeks in the future. Exactly 2 weeks in the future. Tuesday. 2 Tuesdays from now. This is when this happens. Carlos nudges Nick next to him, awake as Adam walks into the waiting room, looking exhausted but also excited. Adam clears his throat, and that seems to wake both sets of parents, who look up at him expectantly. The labor went well, Adam says, smiling. If a bit long, but they're resting now if you want to come meet them. Them? Dude, yes, Carlos says, jumping to his feet. Adam's smile seems to drop, although I don't think all of you can come at the same time. Carlos immediately feels guilty and looks at Adam and Cass's parents, who are also slowly standing. Maybe the grandparents should go first? No, Adam's mother says, shaking her head. Godparents first, then the grandparents can fight over who gets to go next while you're in there. That is so, so much of my heart right there. God, I love, what was her name? Denise? She's great. Carlos isn't sure he likes that, but Cass's dad's nodding in agreement with a grin on his face. And Carlos supposes he's not going to fight two sets of parents on it. He takes Nick's hand and follows Adam down the hallway. I would honestly say that's probably fair. I would feel more comfortable if my child's godparents met my child before their grandparents. Um, I say that, but also the woman who technically will be considered like Nana on my side, I feel like the second that I have a child, I want her to meet them. Like, I instantly assume that I'm having a son. Wow, that was weird. Okay. Cut to me in like 3 years with a child, and it is a son. Um, but I would want her to meet him like post haste. Granted, I don't know who my child's godparents would be at this moment either, so that may change. Uh, he takes Nick's hand and follows Adam down the hallway, unsure why his heart is suddenly beating rapidly. Because you're about to meet a new person. He doesn't even realize he's holding his breath until they walk into a room and see Cass in a hospital bed, looking even more exhausted than Adam, but also somehow so full of joy, and he can feel his heart melt. Victoria, meet your godparents. Godfathers? I think godparents sounds better still. Adam shrugs. Eddie and Nick. Meet Victoria Price Pruitt Davis. That is one hell of a name. It takes Carlos a second, but then he's sure his face is showing how touched he is. Pico, what? Oh. Cass laughs from the bed. Adam was thinking of Edward as a middle name for a while, if it was a boy, since there's also that's also kind of both of you. But I was pretty sure Nick wouldn't like that. Nick shakes his head next to Carlos in confirmation. Price was a more gender neutral name, Cass continues. And she has a bit of M in her anyway, so it was only fair. It takes Carlos a second to remember that Emma's middle name is Victoria. He nods. Well, congratulations. We're both flattered. Thank you, Cass says, as Adam joins her beside the bed and lays a hand on her shoulder. Somebody is stubborn like her mother and kept me in labor for 8 fucking hours. She smiles softly at the newborn in her arms and seems to tickle the top of her head with one finger. Who did? You kept mommy in labor for 8 hours. Carlos doesn't miss how Adam seems to melt at mommy, and he thinks that he's going to be a good dad. So 8 hours isn't outside the expected range for Nick starts, but he promptly shuts up at the glare that Cass gives him. Then she turns to Carlos, smiling in. Do you want to hold her? What? Carlos isn't sure how he feels about that responsibility, but Nick is gently nudging him forward. Go ahead, babe. He does reluctantly take the baby from Cass's arms as Adam makes sure he's holding her in the right way. He looks up at him, although he's pretty sure it's not really at him. And his heart melts at it again. The little baby. Ah, my heart. I can't. She's beautiful, Nick says, standing next to Carlos now, as he gently runs a finger over the knit cap on her head. Carlos nods in agreement, even though he thinks he hadn't really found babies to be all that cute before. She's got your eyes, Chico, Carlos says, and then blushes because he isn't sure he meant to admit how much he's looked at and liked Adam's eyes. I mean, whatever. Adam just chuckles. And her mother's hair, I hope. Mine's an untamable mess. Carlos holds her a while until she seems to fall asleep, and he looks up at Cass, who also has her eyes closed. Should we leave and let you three rest? Cass shakes her head, not opening her eyes. No, when you leave, the parents are going to come, and we're not going to get a moment of quiet until they leave again. Stay as long as you want. Adam nods beside her as he sits in a chair by the bed, and Carlos turns his attention back to Victoria, sleeping peacefully in his arms. Victoria Price Pruitt Davis, Nick says softly next to him. Carlos likes the sound of it. I hope you know how loved you are. So sweet. Ah. And as Carlos looks around the room and his heart feels full, he realizes how much that could apply for any of them. Oh my gosh. Is that it? I know this game goes into 2024, and that literally is set 2 weeks in the future. So, uh, I was. Oh my goodness! The new background. I was right. There's a new one. Twitter. From the point of view of Cass, how much time do we have? Oh god, we still technically could have a whole other 2 hours. 1,500 words is nothing. Cass, Emma, and Adam talk about Twitter. Oh, that she works for Twitter. Duh. Which is now X. Okay. I realize. Oh, that's gotta be fun. Friday, October 28th, 2022. Is it true? Ash shakes her head at Emma's question as she walks in the door of their apartment. Emma's standing in the kitchen at the coffee maker, which seems to be in the process of brewing a fresh pot. Can I at least sit down before you start interrogating me? It comes out a bit harsher than Cass intended, but she's finding that the situation at work has left her more than a little cranky these days. Sorry, Emma says, looking guilty. Cass makes her way Cass makes her way to her desk, sitting at her desk and watching as Emma pours a cup of coffee and walks over, setting it down on Cass's desk. I get the first cup today? Cass asks, mildly surprised. Emma usually insists on the first serving from a fresh pot, which Cass has always found reasonable, given they're also usually Emma's beans. Emma grins at her. I imagine you need it more than me today. Wow, I cannot talk at this point. Probably, Cass replies, closing her eyes and sipping the mug, letting the comfortable scent and taste soothe her. What did you ask me earlier? The internet claims that Musk had you print out a bunch of code so he could code review it. Oh my god. Emma says, seemingly amused. Is it true? Unfortunately, Cass considers herself lucky that she'd had a good number of recent check-ins consisting of a decent amount of feature work that she'd been able to draw from. Still taking a wait-and-see approach? Mm-hmm. Cass sips her coffee again. Although this is not a great start, neither is the expectation that we're going to be working this weekend in the office because he wants all these changes immediately. And Cass, Emma interrupts, annoyed now, on Cass's behalf. You're not going to do that, are you? Cass opens her eyes to look at Emma, who's staring at her with disapproval. Unless I quit right now or want to be fired, I'm not sure I have much of a choice. Quit. Quit. Straight up just quit. She sighs and fishes her phone out of her purse. Which reminds me that I should probably call Adam and cancel for Monday. Emma doesn't say anything else, even though Cass knows she wants to. Friday, November 4th. I guess I'm safe, Cass says out loud, mostly for Emma's benefit. Emma turns her chair towards her and looks at her with more amusement than Cass would have expected. See, I told you you wouldn't be part of the layoffs. Relieved? Cass isn't sure, actually. Fair. I feel like I would want to be laid off from Twitter. She thinks the fact that it isn't obvious relief is probably a sign of how she's actually feeling about the change at Twitter. Kind of? Yeah, no, you probably should quit. Emma chuckles. Does this mean you're done waiting and seeing? I have enough savings that I don't need to work for a while, Cass says instead of answering Emma's question, because she isn't actually sure how to. I don't think I'd have trouble finding another job. You wouldn't, Emma agrees. But you've also said that you wanted to take a break between jobs whenever you left this one. We've been working straight through since college. Maybe this is the push you've been needing. I had this conversation today at work. Maybe, a nagging thought, that quitting would be akin to failure, sticks in the back of Cass's head. But she shakes it away, not wanting to focus on anything but the subject at hand at the moment. Should probably get back to work. Emma makes a disapproving noise, but turns back to her computer, and after another moment, Cass does the same. Friday, November 11th. Are you sure you don't need to be working right now? Adam asks instead of Adam asks instead of his usual greeting when she meets him outside her apartment. Ash shakes her head and kisses him quickly, appreciating his concern, despite the fact that she'd had to bail on several of their previously scheduled meetups because of work. Fuck that, I miss you. Adam smiles and takes her hand in his, and they start walking. I've missed you too. I'm sorry work's been so all consuming lately. Cass stops walking, not liking that term, even though it feels accurate for her. It has, hasn't it? Adam shrugs. New boss who feels like he has something to prove? All of you have to suffer for it? I quit. Cass isn't sure it's fair to dump the question on Adam like that. Why? I feel like you guys are at a good point in your relationship where that's he's a valid person to kind of go to about it.
Yeah, buddy. Come on in. Come on.
Marilyn just wants my door open, apparently. And finds herself surprised at how close she thinks they've gotten in the past 14 months. It feels like she really does need an opinion. Besides, she and Adam had had more than one conversation about kids and how it would make more sense for her to quit if they got to that point, so the decision had some impact on him anyway. Or maybe she's just fishing for an excuse. Adam just smiles. I think that's your decision, but you've seemed really unhappy with work lately, and I'm sure you'll have no trouble finding another. Cass nods instead of digging further into the topic and starts to walk again, pulling Adam along. Wednesday, November 15th. I'm not going to do it. Cass says, why? Resolved this time as she walks out the door of her building to meet Adam. Adam nods even though she's sure he has no idea what she's talking about. Then don't. Sorry, she says, kissing Adam quickly. I'm not going to sign up for Twitter 2.0. Perfect, and I like that Bob made it Twitter 2.0 and not X. Or whatever that fool has in mind. Which, if you believe the email, means I won't have a job as of tomorrow evening. I haven't been following any of the news, Adam says, taking her hand and starting to walk. Although Carlos has, but it sounds like you got an ultimatum or something? Something like that, Cass says. Is that okay? Adam looks at her confused. If you quit, or don't sign up, or whatever it is you're doing, of course it's okay. Cass nods, taking in a deep breath. Look, I just need to get this out there. I've thought for a while that I wanted to take a break from work for a bit, though I think I'm not going to look for a job immediately. And I think you and I are pretty serious, even though it's only been like 14 and a half months, so she trails off and shrugs, not sure how to articulate her thoughts. You think I should be involved in this decision? Adam asks. Because you've been given extremely unreasonable asks and hours, so I would be the worst boyfriend if I ever told you to stay. Cass shakes her head. Sorry, not exactly that. I mean, I want to take an indefinite break. It's not unusual for tech people to take longer breaks than after leaving a job, so I don't think I'll have trouble getting hired again if I want that at some point. But you and I had talked about kids, and this maybe isn't quite the right timing, but I have enough savings to last me a few years, so maybe this is an opportunity for me to pivot at some point from a break into motherhood, she shrugs. I see, Adam says, stopping and looking at her. Cass wonders if she's made a mistake bringing it up. I think the way you just phrased that is a little odd, but still reasonable. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. It's okay, Adam says, smiling now, and that puts Cass at ease again. I think we're pretty serious too, and I definitely think you should take a break if you need one, but I don't want you to change that many things about your life at once, if that makes sense. I think that's my decision to make, Cass says a little more defensively than she thinks she should. But you're probably right. I should have some time to enjoy my freedom before I let you shackle me down. Adam takes the comment in the lighthearted way she did. Chuckles. Not exactly what I meant, but yeah. He pauses. I'm not implying in any way that I don't think we'll get there. I just don't know if I'm quite ready to propose now. And I've said before that I want us to at least be engaged before we start trying. And everything you said makes sense. I think you should quit. And I don't want you to feel like I'm bringing you along. You're not. Cass says, feeling like they're on the same page now, despite her awkward delivery, and starting to walk again. I never feel that way, and I'm sorry again for putting you on the spot like that. I just wanted you to know what I was thinking. Likewise, Adam says. You're going through a big life change. I want to do what I can to support you through it. Cass nods. I should figure out some things to do with my time off. Maybe I can see if Carlos will teach me to cook. Adam chuckles again. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to. Cute. Extra ficklets. Epilogue ficklets and epilogue. So we did. Oh, no. Prologues are the things that we accidentally skipped. Extra scenes from the later years. Oh, from 2021 to 2040 from various perspectives? Sure. Epilogue ficklets. Thank you again for dinner, Eddie and Nick, Cass says, slowly pushing herself to her feet as Adam helps her up off the couch. And for the leftovers. Yes. Yes, very good, Uncle Eddie, Edward says, and Nick laughs. That's very polite, young man, Nick says, ruffling Edward's hair. Want to help your sister put your toys back in the storage bin? I got it, Victoria says, already carrying the blocks over to the corner. That's cute. So they had another child. And they started calling Carlos Uncle Eddie. Ugh. Here, let me get you your bag, Cass, Carlos says, but Cass shakes her head. Thanks, but I'm 9 months pregnant. I'm not an invalid. They're having 3 kids. Got it. She suddenly stops talking and gets a funny look on her face. Oh god, labor? Adam looks confused for a second before realization sets in. Your water just broke, didn't it? Yep. Cass nods and makes a bit of a waddling motion towards the door. I guess those weren't false contractions. Eddie, do you mind if we... Go, Carlos says, grabbing Cass's bag and handing it to Adam. We got Victoria and Edward. Does that mean we get to sleep over here? Victoria asks, clearly excited by the thought. Adam nods, already on the phone as he grabs the door for Cass. Be good for Uncle Eddie and Uncle Nick, okay? Nick returns from the bathroom with a towel, handing it to Cass before kissing Carlos's cheek. I'm gonna go grab some stuff for the kids from their apartment. I want Mr. Squishies, Edward says, and Carlos remembers that's the name of Edward's stuffed capybara. I'll get Mr. Squishies, Nick says, following Adam and Cass into the hallway. And Fuzzy Ba for Victoria. Oh, Nick, there's a bag of stuff for the kids by... Adam starts before the door closes behind the 3 of them. Carlos looks over at the 2 kids staring at him expectantly. So, you want to get the blocks back out and we can build another tower? Tower! Eddie yells and Victoria laughs as she begins pulling out the blocks again. Cute. You really didn't have to cook for us tonight, Eddie, Emma says, swirling the wine around her glass and smiling at Carlos. Carlos shrugs and pulls Nick closer to his side before picking up his own glass again. It's fine, I promise. I enjoy cooking for groups, and it's been a while since we've done this. It has, Emma agrees, sipping her wine. I blame your offspring, Cass. I like Emma. Cass grins at her. Yeah, well, I hope you and your barren womb are enjoying the single life. When are you going to settle down with a man anyway? Carlos looks back at Emma with bated breath, pretty sure Cass is joking, but not sure how Emma would take it. It'd been a while since he'd hung with Cass and Emma together, at least when the kids weren't around. But he knows Cass makes time for Emma in the same way that Adam makes time for him and Nick. So he imagines all of this as part of their usual banter. Emma just laughs. Uh-huh. I forgot that a husband and kids are needed to give life meaning. Woe is me. He looks over at Carlos, still smiling. And because I see you there, shifting uncomfortably, Eddie, it's kind of our thing. It's a bit harder for me to tease her about her ball and chain when he's sitting right here, though. Carlos looks over at Adam, who doesn't seem bothered by the conversation, and he supposes Adam's used to this kind of teasing between Emma and Cass. Ever since Cass had brought up casually in conversation that Emma was aromantic. He tried his best to avoid any discussion of sex, dating, or marriage, unsure how she'd take it, despite his curiosity on the matter. I feel like that's... I assume that means you're not having kids at some point? Carlos asks. He still isn't sure now whether it's an inappropriate topic, but he thinks Emma seems open to the conversation. Emma laughs again. God, could you imagine? I would be a terrible mother. The worst, Cass says, grinning, before taking another sip of her wine. Remember when you brought over chocolate-covered coffee beans and the kids got into them? In my defense, the package was sealed. That is always my defense for anything. In your offense, the kids have fingers, Cass says. And that's why, if I ever become a mom, it'll be a cat. Fair enough, no fingers. Claws, though, Adam says, standing with his empty glass. Victoria wants a cat, but I'm not sure how I feel about that. You always were a dog person, Chico, Adam says, watching as Adam pours himself some more wine. Doggy-style person, Emma says, taking another sip as Nick seems to inhale his own wine and starts coughing. Carlos pats Nick's back until Nick seems to recover. He's pretty sure he's blushing now as well, and tries to push the thought of Adam and Cass having sex out of his head. Oh, just because you enjoy a strap-on doesn't mean it's for us, Em. Cass says, casually sipping her wine and not bothered at all by the conversation. Carlos notices Adam blushing now too. Who says anything about pegging? Emma retorts, I think you're projecting your sexual desires onto me, Cass. Does anyone want anything other than wine? Nick says, his voice still rough from coughing. I think we have some berries, or I can brew some coffee. Fine, I'll stop teasing, Emma says, smiling. I blame Cass and my slight drunkenness. Excuse you? Cass says, we were having a nice, wholesome conversation about pets. Heavy petting, Emma says, giggling. Sorry, I'll stop. Don't let me have another glass after this, though, she asks. She looks over at Carlos, still smiling. And you look like you want to ask me something, Eddie. Carlos takes a large gulp of wine before deciding to go for it. Cass says you're aromantic. Emma laughs, and that makes Carlos feel better. Oh yeah, I keep meaning to thank you for that, actually. Thank me? Carlos isn't sure he understands. Yeah, there weren't many gay or lesbian couples growing up for me, and definitely not any as stable and so obviously in love as you and Nick. She starts, and Carlos blushes at that as Nick snuggles in closer to him. So getting to know you was, in some way, my first proper exposure to LGBT relationship. What does that have to do with aromanticism? It's part of the LGBTQIA+, Carlos asks. Patience, Emma says, grinning. You're worse than Edward. I mean that it was enough to get me really thinking about why my previous relationship had never felt right. I knew it wasn't because I was actually interested in women, and I knew I was definitely sexually interested in men. It turns out I wasn't really interested in anything more than sex. I kind of figured it was a phase or whatever, and I left it there for a long time. But then we had a conversation more recently about how you used to have sex with women or whatever because you were in denial, Eddie, and I asked myself if I was dating men for the same reason. You were trying to fit into the relationship mold in the same way Eddie was trying to fit into the straight mold, Nick says, and Emma nods. Turns out I just really like sex. I've never really had a crush on anyone other than, I suppose, being really physically attracted to them. I don't really want a boyfriend. When I think about marriage, I think of a potential husband like a really close friend rather than some sort of romantic partner. She gently punches Cass's shoulder. Like I'd marry the fuck out of you, Cass, because I think we're close as hell and get along great, but that's all it would be. Well, that and some tax breaks. Facts. Cass laughs at that. I think Adam might have something to say about that, Em. I'm glad we helped in some way then. Emma laughs again. Yeah, you two are ridiculously good together and kind of completely perfect for each other. Nick smiles at Carlos and kisses his cheek. We are. And no offense, Emma continues, but I look at the two of you and want exactly None of that for myself. Same with Cass and Adam. I think I'm finally okay with that. Nick raises his glass. Being true to yourself. Hey! That was perfect! Emma gulps down the last bit of her wine before raising her glass, and Carlos resists the urge to tell her that's backwards. I'll toast to that, but also to doggy style pegging. Him! Cass rolls her eyes. Carlos groans as Nick. Ooh, okay, as Nick slides out of him, shifting until Nick snuggled up in his usual spot against Carlos' side and wrapping his arms around Nick as he settles in. That was amazing, baby, he says, kissing Nick's head, like always. Nick nods against Carlos's chest, tightening his arms around Carlos. You always feel so good, babe. Carlos isn't sure he should mention it. I'm glad I'm not a romantic. Oh? Nick doesn't move, but his hand starts running on Carlos's hip. I understand where this is about to go, because I do feel like my romantic attraction to my partners heavily heightens like any sexualness. Sex with you is, well, it's not amazing because I love you, but it's amazing in part because I love you, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's like it's an extra added bit. I love you too, babe, Nick says, kissing Carlos's chest. And yeah, I absolutely feel the same way. It physically feels good, sure, but when I'm inside you looking down at you, it's as much the thought that you're my husband as the feeling of your you know, around my that gets me going. Carlos blushes at that, even though it shouldn't be anything embarrassing, and is reminded of the comfortable feeling of the ring on his finger. It makes me happy when people figure out their sexuality or whatever. Maybe because I think it was a huge relief for me, even though I didn't necessarily feel that way at the time, and even though I'm probably one of the most straightforward ones to figure out. But I'm glad she did, I guess, because I'm glad I did. Nick chuckles. That's one of those like shared experiences that people in LGBT like get to experience. That does sort of it can create one of those like instant kinship moments ish. That makes sense. Nick chuckles. I'm glad too, babe. Even though it makes no difference to me as long as I make you happy and sex with me makes you happy. Always, Carlos says, squeezing Nick more tightly. And you do the same for me, Nick says, shifting and gently kissing Carlos on the lips. Now let me go so we can get cleaned up and then properly go to bed. Carlos does, watching Nick as he pads off to the bathroom and thinking to himself how lucky he is. Aww. And then I think the fluffs are the end of this. I could be wrong, but holy McMoly, that is not fluffs. That is quite a bit more. Short, fluffy bits from the later years. I'm curious. How long was this one? That was about the same. That only took us about 40 minutes. I think we could probably do this. Epilogue fluffs. Carlos undresses to shower. Nick in bed reading. Nick is no longer reading. Carlos glances over at him. Nick blushes. Hang on, I don't have Bob here with me to tell me what's fully appropriate. I'm just gonna make sure. Oh my goodness. Nope, this is just fun and cute. All right. Carlos undresses to shower. Nick in bed reading. Nick is no longer reading. Carlos glances over at him. Nick blushes. Got caught checking out your husband. Carlos and Nick running together. Carlos pulls off shirt. Nick almost runs into another pedestrian from checking out his husband. Carlos blushes. Nick and Nate chatting on the couch with some coffee. Gross. Jake watching Carlos in the kitchen. Carlos, what about this one? Hands over a bowl. Jake, it's good. Carlos, you haven't even tried it yet. Tries it. It's good. One of these days I'm going to hand you like white chocolate braised beef or something. I've had that. It was good. God, Jake just loves food. I keep forgetting about the dining hall from undergrad. I'm gonna regret asking this, but what was the weirdest thing you've ever eaten? Mussels and shrimp a la mode. What the actual fuck? They had an ice cream bar. Nate, I think dating Jake hardened my stomach a lot during undergrad. Oh? Has Carlos not told you the story of the dining hall, Nick? No? Babe, you're keeping juicy stories from me. I've blocked that place from my memory. I assume Jake told you about the ice cream bar already? They had shrimp cocktail and mussels on ice cream next to the ice cream. That doesn't mean they intended for them to be eaten together, babe. Jake. Then again, they did have chocolate syrup salad once. See, I could actually see chocolate syrup salad. I don't think it would taste great, but I don't think it would be awful. I take it back. Thanks for sparing me, babe. What was the weirdest thing your university served? Once they had the salad that was like apples and grapes and lettuce and some cream. Take away the cream, and that actually sounds pretty good. And I thought it was a dessert item, but apparently the cream was actually mayo. Yeah, the cream itself doesn't seem good. Replace it and it's mayo? Nope. I looked it up afterwards, and apparently it's actually a thing. A feeling I know where Bob got the idea for putting this in here from. Oh yeah, that's a Waldorf salad? Gross. How have I never had this? How have you never had that, Jake? We can make some, babe. Yeah! Nick and Carlos travel to Nick's parents for Christmas. Everyone goes out for a walk downtown. Nick, arm around Carlos, is leaning against him. Carlos points at some nice Christmas store display. Nick, looking at Carlos instead. Aww. Carlos gives baby David a piggyback ride. Aww. Nick, in the kitchen chatting with his mom and brother and sister-in-law. Eileen, Carlos is really good with kids. Nick looks over at Carlos. He really is. Sorry the two of you don't get to see David as much. We could try to make another trip out to San Francisco sometime. Yeah, it's totally your fault that I chose to live somewhere thousands of miles away from you. I'm sorry my schedule doesn't let us come visit as often, but hopefully as I get more senior, time off will be a little easier to come by. Well, we're happy to see you two whenever we can. Although next time I feel like I should study my cookbook before you two arrive so I can keep up with Carlos in the kitchen. Nick chuckles. He's really amazing. David pats Nick's shoulder. Nick falling asleep reading a medical journal paper. Oh, super fun. Carlos gently leads him to the bedroom. Strips him and helps him into his pajamas. Tucks him into bed and slides in next. Nick snuggles close. Both smiling. Oh. These are so cute, just like little fluff. Nick hands Carlos a wrap box. What? What's this? I got you something. What's the occasion? I love my husband day? Carlos, I love you so much. I love you too, but you haven't even seen what it is yet. I don't care. Nick smirks. What if it's literal shit? Then I appreciate that you went through the effort to wrap and gift me literal shit. Fair enough. I guess. Carlos and Nick sitting on the couch reading. Carlos actually just watching Nick. Nick notices. This is very cute. I do like that stuff like this is in there, because there are multiple nights where like Dorian and I will be doing something, and in lieu of like actually watching the show that we're watching or whatever it is that we're doing, I will just like look at Dorian enjoying his night, or just like having the perspective of watching us enjoying a night together and sort of like making that a memory in my head. Not just what we're doing, but being able to observe that we are spending time together and that I'm like with him. Hi. Carlos blushes. Sorry. You're just beautiful. Oh, babe. Nick stops. Thanks. Smirks. Pulls off his shirt and returns to reading. Now that I would appreciate. Carlos. Adam, Carlos, and Nick out for a walk. Adam says something funny. Carlos laughs and throws an arm over Adam's shoulder. Nick smirks and throws an arm over Adam's shoulder. Adam not sure how to react. Carlos cooking. Adam and Nick chatting on the couch. Adam says something teasing to Carlos. Carlos glances over at Nick. Nick ruffles Adam's hair on Carlos's behalf. Adam. Adam gives Cass a piggyback ride. Carlos, I want a piggyback ride too. This I have to see. Adam tries. Carlos holds his arms out like he's flying. I'm king of the world. Adam, dude, if you don't hang on, I'm going to accidentally drop you. Cass snaps a photo. That's adorable. Adam, Carlos, and Nick taking wedding photos. Carlos winks at Nick. Carlos and Nick kisses Adam's cheek from both sides as the camera flash goes off. That's cute. What? Yes! This one's going in on our mantle. Yeah, that's so funny. That reminds me of like this photo that I have. When I was like a kid, I used to make this face when I was like blowing off my sisters. And there's a picture that we took as like adults. It was when I was like 18. But my sisters and their husbands were, I guess I would have had to be a little older than 18 at that point. But my sisters and their husbands were around me, and we were supposed to smile, and all of them made this like face that I used to make. So it's just me smiling with them all making this like blow off face that I made when I was a kid. It's great. Nick and Carlos slow dance at Adam and Cass's wedding. We haven't done this in a while. Since our wedding, I think. Can we do it more? Take dance lessons or something? We can if you want to, but I think it's nice right now, mostly because it's unusual. Carlos grins. See, you only like to be held by your husband in unusual situations. Absolutely. I booked us a couple skydiving tomorrow so we can snuggle while plummeting towards the earth. Carlos thinks. Actually, I would totally do that. That actually does seem like weirdly fun and intimate if like you did the paired couples skydiving. Nick chuckles. Maybe I need to actually make this a thing now. Carlos closes his eyes and pulls Nick closer. Maybe. Victoria running around screaming. Adam, tired. Parenthood will do that to you. Carlos picks her up and plops her on his shoulders. Victoria, excited. Carlos zooms around making airplane noises. Carlos relaxing at home. Nick returns home with Victoria in a stroller. I made the mistake of asking Cass if there was anything we could do to help. Carlos puts book down. Picks Victoria up out of her stroller. Zooms her around the condo. Victoria laughing. Nick, babe, why are you always the plane? It's an easy noise to make, duh. Zooms around making train noises instead. Nick confused. Victoria doesn't care, still amused. Adam, Carlos, and Nick sitting down to dinner. Carlos holds up a spoon. Here comes the choo-choo train, Chico. Adam, unamused. Nick opens mouth wide. Nick walks past hospital gift shop. Thanks. Meets Carlos after work in front of the hospital. Hey, babe. You got me flowers? Nick kisses his cheek. Aww. All they had were yellow roses. I know you like the red ones better. Carlos tearing up. Maybe. Nick takes his hand. Home? Mm-hmm. Oh, so cute. Carlos holding Nick on the couch, watching the credits scroll. Do I do enough for you? Nick sits up. What? Why would you ever ask that? Baby, you do more than enough for me. Carlos, you're always giving me gifts and being affectionate and taking care of me, and you do the same, babe. I'd say you give more than you receive, if anything. Carlos, I never get you anything. You made me muffins with raspberries yesterday because I mentioned that I was happy it was raspberry season again. That's just cooking. No, that's an expression of love. That's you doing something for your partner because it would make them happy. Babe, it's not just anything. You don't have to cook for us, but you do all the time. But I like cooking and it makes you happy. I like getting you flowers and little gifts. And they make you happy. I guess. Please don't ever worry about that. You give me more than enough every day, and I'm forever thankful for you and wonder what I ever did to deserve you. Carlos nods. Okay. I love you, Eddie, and I'm going to tell you that every day for the rest of our lives until you're sick of hearing it. I could never get sick of hearing that. Even if he calls you Eddie, I love you too. Adam and Cass have another kid. Eddie and Nick meet Edward James Pruitt Davis. Carlos grins. Why? Cass likes trolling Nick. Victoria. So Daddy slices pieces out of people, then you slice those pieces into more pieces and tell people what's wrong with them? At a high level? Yeah. Your job sounds more important. Nick smirks. Make sure to tell your daddy that, please. Yeah, well, I'd like to see his fine slicing repair a ruptured aortic artery or remove a bullet. Look at me, I'll cut the bullet into tiny pieces while it's still inside the body. Victoria wide-eyed. Wow, Uncle Nick is magical. No, honey, Uncle Nick can't do that. Adam, your daddy said I could do what? Please, I want to see it. Show me how you cut a bullet into tiny pieces inside someone. I just want to know how you're getting to find a gunshot patient and convince them to come over for some home surgery. Carlos takes Victoria to a park. Victoria tells other kids about her bestest gay uncle. Carlos gives piggyback rides all afternoon. Nick rubs Carlos's back that night. Yeah, would be needed. Other kids. Other kid. I have 2 dads. Victoria. Yeah, well, I have 3 dads. Carlos and Nick beaming. Cute. Adam and Carlos walking together. Been a while since it's been just the 2 of us, dude. Has. Sorry things have been so busy. You don't need to apologize for a hectic job and having kids, Chico. Well, still. Carlos grins and ruffles his hair. There's a pretty good pizzeria around here. Adam grins. Dude, yes. Maybe we should do habanero pineapple instead. I'm gonna regret this, aren't I? Probably. Uncle Eddie, Uncle Nick, I drew a picture of you. Picture, it's basically 2 stick figures holding hands. Aww. Picture framed and hung in their living room. Yeah. I have multiple, actually, I think I have some in here. I have multiple like pictures and drawings and stuff from my niece and nephews. Victoria. I don't want to be called Victoria anymore. Okay, what should we call you? P. What? For reference, that is what at least yeah, that's what my niece and my nephews call me. I had to think about it for a second. I'm like, my niece doesn't really address me ever. She sort of just knows that I know that she's talking to me. P, like the letter? Yeah. But what if people think your name is P, like urine? Carlos grinning. That just makes it better. Yeah. I mean... Honey, I really don't think P is a good nickname. I mean, it's worked for me so far. But Uncle Eddie approves. Uncle Eddie also doesn't know good nicknames because he decided he liked Eddie. Okay, remember that Uncle Nick is going by Uncle Nicholas now. Door opens. Uncle Eddie, Uncle Nicholas! Nick cringes. Ass grins. Why? You let my daughter call herself P. That was Eddie! Love you, baby. Edward is 3. Nick and Carlos show up. Nick and Carlos give kids some candy. Always a great choice, especially if you can give them back. I hate you. Nick and Carlos gives Adam and Cass a couple massage certificates. Nick pushes them out the door. Yep. Yep. Carlos gets down on all fours and puts both kids on his back. I love you. Edward. Mommy, Uncle Nick showed me a trick. Edward touches his tongue to his nose. Cass relieved. Uncle Eddie showed me a trick too. Makes a farting sound with her hands. Yep. Did you teach V to make a farting noise? Maybe? Teach me too. Edward crying. Aw. Like, are you okay? What's wrong? I fell and scraped my arm. Nick inspects. Doesn't look so bad. Let's wash and get you a band-aid. Edward cries harder. What's wrong? I'm gonna get cancer! What? Daddy says you do... Oh my god. Daddy says you do testing things when people get hurt and tell them they have cancer. I do both those things, but not usually for the same people. Also, you can't get cancer by scraping your arm. Promise? Promise. Come on, let's get you cleaned up. Cass in the hospital holding newborn Robin. I'm so glad we ate at Eddie's. Adam grins. Not a fan of hospital food? Cass rolls eyes. Although if they have ice cream... Adam picks up the phone. Adam stands, holds up phone. Picture for the parents? God, I'm a mess. You've never been more beautiful. That's a bold-faced lie, but I'll take it. Fine, but send it in a group chat with everyone. Adam takes picture. Including Em and your siblings, and Emma, and Eddie, and Nick? Cassian's. Yeah, just get it all over with at once, and then everyone can fawn over her in the same text chain. Adam sends. Like 3 a.m., so it'll be a while. Also, this is very different than the previous kids. Cass shrugs. 3rd kid, so I guess not as big a deal anymore to me. Maybe that's unfair to her, though. Adam kisses Cass's cheek and sits in the chair next to her bed. Just means we're pros at this now. What is it with girls and coming in the stupid hours of the morning? You went into labor with V in the afternoon. It just took a while. Don't remind me. Edward came in the evening. It was nice and quick and orderly and simple. Tickles baby Robin's head. I blame Eddie's cooking for filling my stomach and forcing you out. Sounds legit. You heard it. You heard it here first, Robin. A real doctor confirmed that you were induced by spinach and tomato penne? Sure, that's how that's pronounced. Adam's phone dings. Well, Eddie is up. He sends a heart. Thank them again, would you? For inducing labor? Cass grins. Yes, just tell him that. Carlos and Nick snuggling in bed after Victoria and Edward go home. Baby? You ever regret not having kids? Nick kisses Carlos's collarbone. Never. You're sure? Nick moves back and looks at him. Babe, what's wrong? Seeing you interact with V and Edward makes me worry that I denied you that chance because I wanted to be rebellious or something. Babe, you're not some rebellious teenager not doing what your parents wanted. You're an adult making big life decisions. Carlos. But if I made a decision that now means you don't... Nope, none of that. I love you, Eddie. I love my life with you and everything about you, and I don't for a single second regret doing with whatever you wanted. Going with whatever you wanted, in terms of kids for the two of us. Okay. But does that mean you're worried you made the wrong decision? Carlos shakes his head. No. I love V and Edward and being in their lives, but I think being their full-time caregivers would be exhausting. Well, you're their godparents, so if anything were to happen, heaven forbid, to Adam or Cass or both, I mean, I guess both, if something happens to both of them. Nick snuggles up again. It probably would be. Also, you'd probably limit how often we could have sex. Nick chuckles. That's my Eddie, always insatiable. Speaking of... Nick moves hand to Carlos's crotch. Yes? Edward. Uncle Eddie, will you teach me how to swim? Okay. I know you already know how to swim. I do, but Daddy says you swim the best. I want to swim like you. Carlos blushes. I guess we could go to the pool. Mom, Edward licked me. She had ice cream on her arm. Mom, Edward's stealing my ice cream. Carlos and Edward playing with Robin in the pool. Robin wearing floaties and generally having a good time. Victoria splashing and generally causing a ruckus. Cass. Be play nicely in the pool. But Robin is splashing everywhere. Robin is too young to know better. You're not. Don't splash. Grumbles. I'll race ya. That's not fair. You're taller and can swim faster. I'll breaststroke. How about that? Fine, whatever. Carlos and Victoria racing. Nick walks up and sits next to Cass. That's not usually how he swims. He's trying to even it out. They're racing. Ah. He's also obviously holding back. Shh. Let me have this one. We made macaroni art in school today. Oh? Asked Adam. That's where you glue macaroni to paper. What's your art, sweetheart? Edward hands over a blank sheet of construction paper. I forgot to use glue. I don't want to be a doctor. That's fine. You can be whatever you want to be. I want to be a hot daddy. Sweetheart, you're 5, so you can be a father. You can't be a father. Where did you even hear that? I heard Uncle Nick whispering it to Uncle Eddie, and I want to be like Uncle Eddie when I grow up. Okay. Carlos grins. Nick turns red. Wow. My teacher needs you to sign this note. Cass takes. Note. Edward was not following instructions in class today. Instead of writing about the American Revolution, he drew a picture of George Washington in drag, lip syncing on the bow of the Titanic. Okay, I don't see the problem with this. You still have that picture? Carlos comes over, notices a new picture frame on the wall, squints at it. What? It's George Washington in drag. Proud. Eddie, tell him he needs to pay more attention in class. Not a great choice of messenger there, Cass. You should pay more attention in class, Edward. But I made that instead. Gestures towards the frame. We'll enroll you in some more art programs, okay, champ? But you have to pay attention to your teacher and do the assignments too. Teacher wants you to sign this note. Oh god. Note, Edward's essay on World War II was well written, but included several colorful inaccuracies. For example, the war did not end when Hitler was beamed up to the Starship Enterprise, as claimed. Please have a discussion with Edward about separating creative pursuits with non-fictional writings. Not sure if she should be mad. Son, you know we support all your creative endeavors, and you can be anything you want to be when you grow up. But you need to take your school assignments more seriously. But they're boring. I found art classes boring when I was in school, but I still got through them. Yeah, but that's like one class. I'm supposed to do all this serious stuff like history and math and science. I found all that stuff boring too, but the sooner you get it done properly, the sooner people will lay off you, and the sooner you can do the things you want to be doing. That is okay. Bob, when you see this, remind me to give you a very proper thank you because, yeah, I too need to have this conversation with a kid. And this is a pretty good thing to say. That makes sense. Adam, thankful for Carlos. I'll placate Miss Harrison, and then draw her as a mean old witch. Carlos grins. Maybe don't draw your teacher. Mom, Edward's being mean. I didn't do it. What didn't you do? I didn't draw Robin as Gollum and tell her she was going to turn into that if she didn't find her magic ring of power. Woo! This ring, to be exact. You know. Whatever. Robin starts bawling. Edward James. I didn't. Victoria walks up with a sheet of paper. Edba, why are you drawing Legolas with boobs? Yes, doesn't know what's going on anymore. Robin. I'm gonna be an ugly troll. Technically Gollum isn't a troll. Robin cries harder. Oh my god. Carlos, that was, I mean, so Gollum dies when he destroys the ring, right? So he's a big hero who made the ultimate sacrifice to save the world. You're telling this child she's gonna die? Really? Nick hopes he's remembering the story right. You did, kind of. Yeah, so if Edward's saying you're Gollum, he's saying you're strong-willed and heroic. Robin hiccups. I am? You are. Now how about some ice cream? Emma comes to visit. Emma brings chocolate-covered coffee beans. Oh, God. Emma leaves them on the table while she goes to the bathroom. It's chocolate! It's caffeinated and sugarated. Just sugared. What the fuck have you done? Adam calls Carlos. Carlos comes over. Victoria climbing up Carlos's body. Edward running around screaming. Robin repeatedly jumping off the couch. Okay, these kids are big now. Which ones do you want me to handle more? All three of them? Carlos puts Victoria on his shoulders. Leaves with her. Edward and Robin crying because Uncle Eddie left. Adam, well, that's something at least. To be fair, he's taking care of one of them, and the other two stopped what they were doing, which was what you asked, kind of. I also do enjoy the fact that, like, I am my nephew's and niece's favorite uncle. So this reminds me of that. Uncle Eddie, am I named after you? Technically, you're named after Uncle Nick. Nick makes a face. I'm named after both of you. Robin starts crying. I want to be named after Uncle Nick too. So, what do you want to be for Halloween? I want to be a princess. I want to be a doctor. What about you, sweetheart? I want to be a can of soup. I'm sorry, what? Edward wants to be a can of soup for Halloween. Huh? Carlos thinking. Carlos shows up at Adam and Cass's in an adult-sized soup can costume. Edward, excited. I want to be soup too. Me too. Why does V's soup have pink tulle? Lab coat soup. I tried, okay? I want to be a lab coat. I want a lab coat. Adam drapes one over Edward. Now you're ghost soup. Yes. Nick and Carlos show up to take the kids trick-or-treating. Nick just dressed as a doctor. Victoria, that's lazy. Gee, that's rude. No, she's right. I just never know what to be for Halloween. You could be soup like Uncle Eddie. I think the four of you have that covered pretty well. I'm Ghost Soup. Promptly walks into a wall. I didn't think this through, did I? Victoria and Robin singing. Butts, 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 butts. Adam comes home. What is going on? Don't ask. Dad, make them stop. Carlos comes over. Victoria and Robin. Butts, 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 butts. Adam, any ideas? Carlos thinks. Carlos whispers to Adams. Adam grabs Cass. Kisses her. Ew! Adam watching them carefully. Victoria, but. Adam kisses Cass again. Come on, let's go get some ice cream. Ice cream! Ice cream! Frozen yogurt! Always gotta be the different one. Robin starts crying. But I want ice cream! It's just been one of those days. Nick arrives. Kids all crying. Nick, what did I miss? Robin, ice cream! Frozen yogurt! Gelato! I'm so sorry. Hey, how about Uncle Eddie takes Robin and V to get ice cream and gelato, and I take Edward to get frozen yogurt? I want to go with Uncle Nick. I want to go with Uncle Eddie. Cass sends the kids to their rooms instead. Dude, what is going on? Like I said, it's just been one of those days. Carlos, that night. Would the kids find it weird if we kissed? I'm pretty sure Adam and Cass raised their kids to be very accepting of... Oh. No. I meant that... Blushes. They think it's gross when their parents kiss, and we use that today to shut them up. I wonder if they'd think it was weird if we kiss. Oh. Sorry. Nick also turns red. We kiss in front of them, right? Carlos thinks. Not in a while, actually. I think that means I just need to kiss you more. In general. Carlos smiles. I sometimes think about that, not in terms of like trying to get my niece and nephews to stop bickering or whatever, but I think sometimes about like, when's the last time that I kissed Dorian? And I'm like, I just need to kiss Dorian more, so I always have a running tally in my head. Come here, baby. Hi. Hey, bird poop. Hey, Ed Weirdo. Cass trying to decide if she needs to intervene. Fair? Cass, should we tell the kids not to make fun of each other's names? Maybe? But you also named our son Edward to make fun of Nick, so that's fair. Giving your child a name for the rest of their life just to troll one of your friends. Oh, that's great. Dorian, we need to name our daughter Madeline. Adam moves closer to her in bed. Maybe we should try for another one right now. Cass giggles. Door bursts open. Mom, Robin licked my ear. Robin comes in crying. He stole my shoe. Edward peers around the corner. I'm fine, I just want to see what was happening. FOMO. FOMO, child. Cass sighs, kisses Adam, and gets out of bed to deal with it. You two just kissed. Cuties. Robin's still crying. Will you drive me to a doctor's appointment, dude? Carlos, worried. Sure, Chico, is everything okay? Yeah, it's a preventative thing. Prostate exam. What kind of preventative thing do you need a driver for? You can walk to your doctor and back. Oh no. Other side, other end. I'm getting a vasectomy. Oh. Adam turns red. Carlos pats his back. Sure, Chico, just let me know the day and I'll get a zip car. Adam, tests come back negative today. The vasectomy seems to have taken full effect now. Oh, thank God, I was getting sick of using condoms. Adam locks door, pulls off shirt. Cass smiles. Door thump as someone runs into it. Robin crying outside the door. You can't. I'll be right back. Cass lying against Adam afterward, hand running through his chest hair. Thank you for doing this for us. It was the obvious choice. I could have gone back on birth control. No, this is easier and takes way less of a toll on you. Like on anybody in general. I love you. I love you too. Edward outside door. Dad, there's a ghost in my closet. I'll be right back again. Cass giggles. Cass quietly. Who are you gonna call? Adam getting dressed. Chuckles. Haven't heard that in years. Thinking about it, yeah, this is probably like 2030-ish? Go get him, Dr. Venkman. Edward is a teenager. Cass scolding Victoria. Edward picks Cass up and carries her off. Cass! Edward grinning. Cass not sure if she should be angry or not. Edward, don't carry your mother off when she's in the middle of a sentence. But she's grab and go size. I take it back. Don't carry your mother off at all. Right, that's your job. Edward turns 18 and has a small dinner with family. Victoria hands him a card. Happy birthday, butthead. Aw, thanks, VJJ. Edward James. She started it. Edward opens card. Happy birthday, hot daddy. Carlos grins. Nick turns red. Or living this moment for me. All right, so we have reached pretty much the 3-hour mark. Carlos receives an unexpected message. In the year 2035. I think I'm actually probably going to end this right here. Just because we are at pretty much the 3-hour mark. That seems like it's probably... Oops. Forgot that I don't actually have sound on this one. On this screen. I have to turn it on. That seems like that should take me not that long to read through. But I'm also curious about the prologues that I missed, because I know that I missed them at the beginning, the story so far, which, I mean, if you've been following along, you kind of already know. I Got You Wrong, Better to Have Loved. These two I haven't read. So I might want to include those and then also do living this moment for me. And then I think that probably puts us at the end. I know that Bob told me that I would probably finish this within the next couple of streams. So I think we might finish it next stream, next week. But yeah, this has been great. I think after we're done with this, we are going to kind of go back in the timeline and we're going to play what was it? It's like Zag's The Roles We Play. And that's told from, I think if I am correct, it's told from the perspective like Nate and Jake's relationship, and I can't stand Nate. Yeah, so we might finish this up, and then depending on how long that takes and how I'm feeling, might jump into that. We also might read some of the like, I saw it was called the Evil Nick Fix. Yeah, which Bob said I would heavily I guess relate to a little more. So we might also go ahead and take a look and maybe read those. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave it right here for this one. Thank you everybody for coming. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to leave a like. Feel free to subscribe, whether you're watching it live or as a VOD. Also, feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know if you just ran into this or if you've watched the entire series, and if you have, what you thought about it, because we're pretty darn close to the end of this like timeline for these characters, which is amazing and insane to think that like 4 months ago I started this. And it's taken me this long to like get through all of this, and I still haven't technically gotten through everything. But oh yeah, just insane. And if you're watching on Twitch, feel free to leave me a follow if you haven't. And with that, I do have shorts coming out, or a short coming out tomorrow on YouTube. I'll be back Thursday. I'm not sure with what yet. I'm thinking in lieu of doing our normal Fallout or Echoes of the Plum Grove, I might switch it up. I might end up playing Life is Fragile, but we'll see. But regardless, I will see you all on Thursday. And yeah, thank you again. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.